Right, here we go, guys. So this is just a prelude to today's episode, because in the episode we talk not as extensively as previously about systems and making mistakes and how and what you need to do to ensure that you don't make mistakes and you fuck them up. Matt, would you like to explain?
Yeah, I forgot to press play on recording for the video. So this is all the video you're getting, everyone. Don't worry, we still have the audio, so you can still get to listen to our dulcet tones.
Exactly. So we can chuck that on.
Yeah, and it's ironic as well, because in this episode they talk about how I fuck up. So here we go.
The beginning part is right there. But again, we'll put a system in place.
Yeah.
And ensure this doesn't happen again.
There we go. Enjoy.
Right, let's go.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to episode 28 of the Just Discourse Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Max Smith and Matt Delahan. How you doing, mate? All right?
Good, my friend. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. What you been up to?
Busy, mate, as always.
Good.
Still learning, building, growing.
Beautiful. That's what I like to hear.
Got to be done, mate. How about you?
Yeah, a lot. I spent the band and I spent the last 5 days in a music studio, literally on Portobello Road.
Nice.
So, have you ever seen the film Notting Hill?
I haven't, no. That's
Okay,
with, what's his name, isn't it?
Hugh Grant and
the little
Julia Roberts. Well, I don't know, I've never seen it. But there's a really famous scene with a doorway that happens in the film. So you've got the doorway there, we're next to it on the left.
It's not quite the doorway. But
not quite the door, but it's ridiculous because every time we'd open the doors, come out for like a break of fresh air, there's just crowds of people taking pictures of themselves by the doorway. And so we're just like, Jesus Christ. But we did it once and we were like, no pictures, no pictures.
And then you realise.
And then they realised. Because we knew what they were doing, but they didn't know what was going on.
Oh, okay.
Because they were just like, whoa, these famous people, they were like that. And we were like, no.
Not yet.
Not yet. That was good though. Really, really, really good. Really,
how's
really good.
that? I mean, I bet that's an experience.
It's a crazy one because it's a proper heavy duty recording studio. So the company there has several locations, and the owner of it has done the music soundtrack for like the film Fast Girls and stuff like that. The listeners at home will probably know what that film was, but you've got like these plaques on the wall and stuff like that for commemorative things.
That's pretty cool.
So it's impressive.
And then, so what, I'm an old man at heart. So what does it actually come out on? Is it CD, vinyl? Is it?
So it'll come out as like a
memory stick.
It'll come out as a digital file, which we will get. Stop it. And then it's just up to us how we format it. So we want to do vinyls because that'd be fun, and we can mess around with the artwork.
And they're coming back in now, aren't they?
Vinyls are coming back. Well, because we had it all digitized, like recording deck to get it all done. But she was telling us that at the other studio up in Manchester, they have an entire room where people are asking to have everything recorded on tape because they prefer how the sound comes through. Okay. So she says it's good and it's bad because it's bad because you basically like with this right now, for example, we can make as many screw ups as possible, and I can just cut bits out and just edit it later on. If we were doing this on tape, we'd have to do a perfect pod, like from start to finish, like no screw ups, no wrong words, no nothing. Otherwise, it'd start all over again.
Yeah, that's painful.
Yeah. So that's the bad news with that. But the good news is that sound comes out better with tape as you go from there.
That's handy, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're not dicking around with all the different settings and this and that and that. And it's just a lot easier.
When's the big day then?
So we should get our first draft back in just under a week.
Very nice. And what's the turnaround on
that? So we aim to have at least one of the songs out by the beginning of December.
Okay. And again, I'm still a bit of a dinosaur with these types of things. How does that really work?
So we've done it already back in March, where we released 2 of our demos that went out on Spotify.
Excellent.
So they're on Spotify already at the minute. London's Burning and Crossroads, the Midnight Specials band. Check it out. So we have yet to decide if we're going to do the whole chunk or if we're going to do singles at a time. Mm-hmm. Singles are better from a marketing perspective, but a whole chunk is more valuable for the customer. So we'll see. We've still got to work it out.
And so in terms of putting it on Spotify, like, can you just upload it, or have you got to pay for an account, or how does it work?
So there's an account that we have with, I can't remember what it's called, but it costs us like 20 quid a year, or we wouldn't upload as many songs as we like.
That's nice. It's not too bad then, is it?
Yeah, but the account itself is very good because it's a distribution platform, so it will then push it to Spotify, SoundCloud, and just these Apple Music and whatever.
Everything in one.
Yeah, Amazon probably, and just like weird shit you've never heard of.
Well, that's not bad value for money then, is
That
it?
was really good. Yeah, really, really good.
Sure you can afford 20 quid between you?
I mean, we always go to Caleb.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair to him, he fronted it. He fronted the cost for the studio, and we were just like, okay, mate, well done.
Yeah.
Because it's not cheap.
Good luck getting that one back, Caleb.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not. 5 days.
And does he want it back in the exact amount, or is he doing it?
It's gonna add interest.
That's what I mean, yeah. Add interest, or does
he better not listen to this because he's like, that's a good idea.
Or does he want the
actually.
appreciation charge on it?
He's like, he's getting with inflation.
Yeah.
He's
I'll
like,
got your back, Caleb.
that's a good point, Smith. Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, so it was like I took a whole week off work. People were like, oh, you know, you can have a nice relaxing holiday. I was like, nah, it's going to be fun, but it's not going to be relaxing because we were leaving home at 8 and getting home at 10 for 5 days.
Nice. And everything's expensive in London, isn't it?
To be fair, the parking there cost us 40 quid for 5 days.
Fucking hell, how'd you manage that one?
Just what the charge was.
What, at the studio?
So it was like 10 minutes down the road.
That's all right, isn't it?
And it was like we had like 4 death cans each a day. We were having two double coffees, pizzas, 5 guys. The bloody market was 2 minutes walk away, so we were having all the wraps and the burger stalls and everything. It was like, I mean, we did it properly, but you're there just like, Jesus Christ, you feel like you're dying.
Yeah. Or did you smoke like 40 fags a day?
No, they're called homosexuals.
And you can't smoke them?
Well, I mean, you could, but
you shouldn't do.
yeah, not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
No, Max and Robbie have started calling their particular plant of choice a sports cigarette, which is a fucking great way to label it. I like that. That's good. That's good branding.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, I mean, considering how hyperactive those two are, I mean, they went through a stupid amount, but
it's all part of the parcel, isn't it?
Mate, we had the most hilarious lesbian as our sound tech.
You allowed to say that?
She said that straight out because obviously Max made a joke, and she was like, "Oh, I'm a lesbian." He was like, "Oh yeah, me too." And then we were like, she just started laughing. We were like, "Okay, oh thank God." She has our sense of humor. Yeah. Otherwise, we would have had
a mutiny.
Well, to give you an idea of what her sense of humor was, because we were like, we're really struggling for a new band name, and she was like, and Bobby was like, "What do you think of Dolphin Punch?" And she was like, "I don't think Dolphin Punch is good. I think DP's a good name though." And we were like, "What the fuck?"
Can you really?
And she was like, "What? Who doesn't like DP?" And we were like, "Yeah, fair enough." And she was like, "For the record, I don't want anything to do with that shit, but that's a good band name." And we were like, "You're in the business, love. You know."
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it's quality.
I'm surprised one of the lads didn't say, "Yeah, I love a bit of it."
Oh, I'm sure Max. Well, Max is a self-confessed woman, so there you go.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, enough about me. I just wanted to talk today.
Yeah, you said you had a couple of points you wanted to.
Yes, I had a few things to start off with. Well, actually, to regress, we will continue to talk about me.
Yes, my favourite thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about me, I get it.
Yes.
I got a bad review on Monday.
Really?
I did. I'm going to tell everyone I got a bad review.
How? What did you do?
With my time away, I didn't schedule my business entirely properly. Mm-hmm. So there's quite a bit of overlap with customers that needed replying to and products needed sending out. Coupled with the fact that one of the items arrived like the day before I was going to go away for a week, and it was the wrong item. And I was like, shit. So I was then on to the supplier being like, "You've messed up. This is the wrong thing I asked for. I need a resolution. What's the resolution?" So I told all of my customers, I said, "Look, for these ones you guys have bought, they've sent me the wrong thing. Do you want your money back, or are you happy to wait for like a week?" 2 out of 10 of them said, "Oh, we'll just take a refund." I was like, "Cool." And the rest of them were like, "Yep, that's fine to wait. Just let us know what's going on."
Yeah.
In the midst of all this, I missed one.
Mm-hmm. What, a customer?
I missed one. I missed one person to tell because there was a lot I had to do. And so there was a complete screw up on my part from poor planning, leaving things too close to the line. I should have scheduled everything to finish like the day before I was going to go away, as opposed to like the day of, because then I just didn't, because the nature of how the turnaround works, I just didn't get it right. And then I got, on one day I got a review from them saying, a message first saying, look, you've pressured me to pay for it on the when it was sold. Pressured is in quotes. And then had no communication. It's just now late. Not happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put a review on my platform, just saying this to the effect: beware of this seller, as it were. And this is entirely my fault. They're absolutely right. The communication was, I didn't do it. Obviously, there's no other way around it. Because I didn't plan properly, so that I didn't end all my sales beforehand to then take a proper week out, so they didn't have any overlap. I just didn't communicate. They were right. I missed it because they were lost in the midst of all of them. As soon as they messaged me, I responded straight away. Yeah. You're absolutely right. This is not at all the experience I want you to have. And what I did, I'd sent the item out already by that point. But I gave them all their money back as well.
Mm. Well, I think you did the right thing there. I always see it as there's two types of people when things go wrong, especially in situations like that. It's the one that says, oh, well, you only have to wait a couple of days, like blah, blah, blah. It's, what's she moaning about? Like, But at the end of the day, when you're providing a service and something goes wrong, the only and best thing you can do is immediately jump on it when you find the mistake, have some communication and dialogue with whoever it is you're dealing with, i.e. the customer or supplier or something like that, and just explain the situation. Look, sorry about this. I made this. I created this issue. Or sometimes you want to avoid being direct like that because some people can start taking the piss. But most of the time it's easy just to be like, look, I fucked up. This is what I'm going to do to make it better. If I resolve that problem for you, are you happy with that? And 9 times out of 10, they're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, obviously with that person now, they're probably fine now because they would have received their product and they would have got their full money back as well. So they've won for them. Mm-hmm. Obviously for myself, I have a bad review now, so that will last. I think publicly that will last for like a year until that sort of goes away. But fortunately for me, my percentage is 99.7% positive feedback. So,
and it's a numbers game. Now you know that you've got to ensure the people that are having a good experience need to be putting reviews on to overcome that one. And did you put a message on the review itself?
No. It's a good point.
I know you can do it on Google reviews, but I don't know what platform you're using. But you can comment on it as well. And I always find the best thing, especially when I'm looking through reviews of companies, is anyone who is a sane human being knows that there's going to be problems and there is going to be those Karens, sorry Karen, that are going to put those reviews on that are unnecessary. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the time you read through what the company's put on there or who the individual has replied, and it sort of puts your mind at ease because you can see, look, this is the situation that happened, this is what we did to rectify it. Yep. Which I would probably advise you to do that is just say, look, we're really sorry you had this bad experience with us. It's not how we operate and how we like to show our business to the outside world. This is what we will do and have done to rectify the problem. I hope we haven't affected our relationship in the future or something like that.
So in response to the public review or just their private comment?
Public review, so in the public who's looking at the bad review can see that as well. Because that's the first thing I do when I see a bad review is I see or I look what the customer's actually said, and I look to see if the company or the individual has replied to it as well. Because as I said, quite often things go awry, people make mistakes, people miss things, which is, we're only human, we're not robots, it's going to happen. But as I said before, the best thing you can do is once you do notice the problem is be proactive in ensuring you get it fixed. And again, a message on the review like that helps other customers see that, look, and it humanises you.
Yeah.
and makes people more sympathetic to, look, it's not an ongoing concern or something that's going to happen all the time. It's a human error, and you can clearly see that they've done everything they can to rectify it.
Yeah, it's a very good point. And also, if we're applying Jocko Willink's extreme ownership book on the table,
and that's my point when I said about it. It's exactly the right thing.
Yeah, you don't make an excuse. You just say this. Yep, we made a mistake. This is exactly what happened, and this is how we fixed it. As you say,
there's two options when things go wrong. And people tend to stick to one lane or the other. It's everybody else's fault, not my fault. I could have done nothing about it. Now, unfortunately, that avenue, you can never improve because you're never looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, look, this is how I fucked up, this is how I can improve and be better. Two, you're taking the power away from yourself because you are saying, look, there's nothing I could have done about it. I did everything I could, blah, blah, blah. Almost 100% of the time, there's always something you can do about it. And three, it keeps you on that lower level, and it pisses you off as well. Do you know what I mean? You engage your emotions and it winds you up, which escalates the problem to way worse than it usually is. Whereas on the other hand, if you take full responsibility for it, you can learn and grow. You can say, look, this is how I fucked up. Have a conversation with yourself. Put a process or a system in place to ensure that doesn't happen again. You learn and grow, which is always great for everybody because, the better you can be every single day. I think we said about it before, the 1% compound effect. By the end of the year, 5 years, 10 years, you're so much further ahead than you would be if you were just sat here playing the blame game. And then three, can't remember what my third point was, but it was based on the first point.
That is the point itself. You can't remember.
Exactly.
That's
the
go.
Problem. But again, like if you don't take ownership for your mistakes, it's the emotional reaction. Is when you take ownership for it, immediately you might be like, fuck's sake, that's annoying. But then you realise, like, it's my mistake. There's no point in getting annoyed and emotional. As I said, I've put this system in place to ensure it doesn't happen again. And then just constantly look back at that system and ensure you don't fuck it up again.
Well, yeah, it's the system thing was what I was going to question about, because that's what we ended on last time. I was going to say, is this the systems come up? It's not like you spend all the time going, okay, in this scenario, I'm going to create this system. Okay, in this scenario, I'm going to create this system. Is you're just going to do stuff, and then you're like, oh, this went wrong. Cool. What was it? Where was everything? System in place. Right, move on. Oh, this went wrong. All right, cool. Now how do we fix that? And it's just like, it's a constant learning and evolving thing.
Exactly like that. Exactly like that. And I assume this is how people built machines and cars and stuff like that. Is they would, from my experience, I go and do what I think needs to be done, and then something goes wrong. And then you're like, okay, so how can I overcome that problem to ensure that doesn't happen again? Right, if I do this, this, and this, that will mitigate that risk, or that will reduce that from happening. And then you go on again, keep going on as you're doing. And you the systems you build help build yourself, your ethics, your company, your reputation as you go along. So then again, the next thing goes wrong, because inevitably it will be. As I say, we're humans. We're always going to make mistakes. But 99% of the time, if you make a mistake, as we said before, and you rectify and you make a plan to ensure it doesn't happen again, most people are happy with that. And that is the systems as it is. You create the system based on the mistake, or if you can catch it before you get to that level, quite a lot of the time you can see something's going slightly awry, so then you put the system in place to rectify it. But I would say 7-8 times out of 10, because you're doing all these other things, you don't notice it until it goes wrong. And then obviously when it goes wrong, that's when it gives you the kick up the arse to put that system in place. And that's all it's about. And that's why we talk about it a lot and stress that you're better off starting young, because it gives you the opportunity to make mistakes and learn and grow, and you've got the energy to bounce back from those mistakes and the mental capacity to actually create the system to ensure it.
Yeah, minimal risk, because you've got less to lose when you're younger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you're 30s, 40s, and you've got a couple of kids and a mortgage and stuff like that, you can't afford to make the mistakes as much as we can, or the people that are far younger than us, because they haven't got any dependents. And that's a lot of the time when you apply for a mortgage or a loan, one of the first questions they ask is, have you got any dependents? Because again, that's going to be an expense for you. So it obviously reduces the amount that they'll lend to you.
For sure. So that was point number 1 I had for today. The second one, I was listening to so Andrew Huberman was on Chris Williamson. So if anyone doesn't know, Andrew Huberman is
he's a G, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a neuropsychologist, but who's also built like a fucking brick shit house. And he's just an insanely intelligent guy. But he was talking about, I'm going to really butcher this because he was going fully into the neurochemical reactions and
He
everything.
said this was on Chris Williamson.
Mm-hmm. So it came out Monday just gone. But he was talking about how stress is really good for us individually. So people demonize stress a lot, be like, oh, you don't want to be stressed, because, that's bad for you, raises your cortisol levels, your blood pressure, blah, 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 which is all true. But also, stress is how we grow. So you stress your muscles to get stronger, you stress your mind to get more intelligent, to learn new things, so on. So you stress your immune system. Yeah, you stress your immune system to get a stronger immunity, and so on and so on. So he was saying it's brilliant that we have a culture now where people are actively doing things that are difficult for them because it makes them better. So going to the gym, listen to podcasts that stress the brain, and swimming all the time, etc., etc. So that's really important. Doing things that are difficult but that you enjoy because it gives you the fulfillment in the moment of learning them. But he's saying there's an aspect that people are missing, that the human body, humans rather, we thrive on stress that is genuinely unpleasant because that raises our capacity for stress. So it makes us more resilient. So he's saying it's all very well and good to be doing, an ice bath. But if you genuinely enjoy being that cold, it's not going to have the same effect on you as if you hated ice baths, for example. Because we need something that is a stressor that is genuinely unpleasant to achieve that extra level of building that resilience from there. Otherwise, as he was saying, you will reach a plateau from whatever you're doing. So
you see it with, sorry to interrupt, you see it with a lot of people in the gym is, they don't push themselves to that point of exhaustion or failure. And, unless you're going to that point of failure, you're not really improving, are you?
Well, this is what I was actually going to say. There's a guy in my gym whose cardio is insane. So he is he's a PT for the military.
Nice.
So you've got PTs, you've got military, then you've got a military PT. He was just an absolute nutter, and he was just like, "What can I do to make my heart rate go up?" Because he's like, "I'm not getting any higher than 140," and I was just like, This guy does minute interval sprints for like 40 minutes, and I'm just like, okay,
fair play.
Like I understand what he's getting for, but I'm like, you're using the wrong metric to measure against. But it's a similar sort of thing, where he's like, I love cardio, I love running,
and he gets used to it, doesn't he?
And he gets used to it. He's just like, but I can't get any further because I was just like, well, you just need to just mix it up. But it's so interesting. I was just wondering if that applies to other people as well. Like there has been a development of hustle culture. Now, whether that's from, I don't know, Gary Vaynerchuk or whoever, from him being like, you got to go out there and just to sell everything. I don't know. That's my Gary V voice. Where he's just like, go find fucking baseball cards and sell them.
I did watch one, I think it was, or Grant Cardone was commenting on Gary, and they were having an argument about who works the most. And I think Grant Cardone, like how many hours they do, and Grant was like, but I earn way more. So
what does it matter?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Like, surely it's about the return on investment rather than the hours put in.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, when you start, it's going to be about the hours put in.
Yeah.
But you've got to work smarter, not harder, haven't you?
Yeah.
And in the long run, working smarter is going to give you that better return.
Yeah, because and you would begin, like, I don't know, for either of us, correct me if I'm wrong, we would begin at our individual ventures with a high volume, low value.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what we do, yeah.
Yeah, and then you'd go upwards from there. And then it would slowly switch, depending on what your business model is, but you'd switch to then go low volume, high value, or a hybrid of the two, whatever.
Yeah, that would be the ideal. Or imagine to keep both.
Yeah.
Would be even better.
Yeah, because you get a hybrid either way. So then if it's low volume, high value, that means you can do 3 a week.
Yeah.
Which is, maximum 3 hours of work a week, and you get the same return as 300 a week, which is exactly.
And
a stupid amount.
You can only do that from building up your knowledge, reputation, and your network. Let's take estate agency for example. Now, someone like you and I, when we first started, unless we're extremely lucky, very unlikely because we haven't got the network built up yet, we're not going to be selling the 10, 20 million pound houses that are going to net us, 200 grand for one sale.
Mm-hmm.
We're scrabbling about in the dirt trying to sell 2 300 pound houses and taking
£300.
Sorry, 300 pound houses. Have it nice, wouldn't it?
Well, we're selling Lego houses.
Yeah. And taking, the 500 to a grand commission.
Yeah.
Which meant, to earn any money and stay above water, we had to increase the volume of our sales in order to actually live.
Well, that actually is a perfect analogy because in our respective fields then, I was high volume, low value. You were lower volume, higher value.
Say that again. You were...
Lettings versus sales. Lettings is more volume compared to sales.
Yes. But less value,
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But and also because the commission structure is different as well,
Yeah.
which is a real arsehole.
But that's one thing I loved when I switched over to the letting side of things. I went to do rooms, like room lets. And because I was used to spending so much time on one sale, it was quite refreshing to effectively do the same job in terms of, the basics of what you're doing, but being able to, do 3 or 4 a day. Because then you get that proper dopamine hit, whereas I think you lose the dopamine hit when you're, especially in this country where it takes so long for a property to go through.
Absolutely bloody ages.
Yeah, and to get it on, etc., etc. But then obviously you get more of a dopamine hit for when it does go through. So that's what you're chasing. But no, it's great to be able to do, as I say, 4 or 5, knowing that you've done, 60, 70 a week. So 70 a month. Do you know what I mean? It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
But then again, I can imagine the long term of that is once you're not doing 60 or 70 a week, 50 just sounds like shit.
Well, that's the sin of relativity then.
Say that again?
That's the sin of relativity.
Yeah, when you get used to it. Which, I find is, we've discussed it before, I kept saying to myself, which is an element of delayed gratification, but then I think the relativity part of it as well is, I said once I get to this many units or whatever, I'll plateau and I'll stop a little bit and I'll enjoy it, take some money out, and then you get there and you're like, okay, well, I could probably do this again for another 6 months, and then you do it again, and then you get there and you're like, fuck it, I may as well do it for another year, like keep pushing and keep pushing. When you think about, I guess it's compound interest, is when you think about I can take it out now, but then I'll be behind compared to what I could be in just 6 months or just a year, and then again you just keep flipping and flipping and flipping.
Yep.
And then one day you'll turn around, because I think one of my biggest fears is being in my 40s, even in my 30s. I know I'm in my 30s now, but not being completely financially free so that you can do whatever you want whenever you want. So I'd rather just fucking work my ass off now, build everything up as much as possible, especially because I haven't got children, is forget all the pleasures and all those types of things and just build, grow, learn as much as I can, and then one day just be like, oh shit, the big payday's come.
So my question for you is, what metric are you using for financial freedom? Are you using a fixed sum in the account, or are you measuring it from cash flow?
So this will obviously always change just because of inflation. Fucking bastards. But the figure I had in mind was at least 16 million in the bank. So that whatever, if I get one payday of 16 million in the bank, it means you could buy a house for between 1 and 4 million, depending on what it is. More than likely, because I want to be in this area, 1 or 2 million I don't necessarily want a big house, big fancy house. I just want some land. So I'd much rather have like a smaller house, but just have a lot of land so you can play around with. So you can get that between what I'm looking 2 and 4 million, depending on where it is and how large you get it.
So for that amount, are you saying that's you done? You never have to work again. Is that what you're saying?
Basically,
got
yes.
you.
So
Okay,
then,
that makes sense.
So then that figure, bearing in mind, if I were to get that figure, in the meantime of me achieving that figure, I would have accrued loads of assets. So wouldn't necessarily need that, but that would be the comfortable amount because, as I said, I can do 4 million for the house paid off. Haven't got to worry about that. Then 2 million for cars.
That's what the land's for, yeah? You're going to build a fucking
a
Jay Leno warehouse.
Yeah, so I would have a fucking shitty 2-bed bungalow happily, and then just build a huge barn warehouse and have a bit like Rob Deerdeck. Do you know Rob Deerdeck is?
Yeah.
He's obviously got the skate park in the warehouse. I wouldn't have the skate park, obviously.
I mean, that would be a real baller move to get a skate park and never use
it.
it.
Just not use it. Just let it rot.
That'd be great.
Have you ever heard of? I think his name's Shmee. There's like a car YouTuber, and he's absolutely dope, mate. And he's got this huge warehouse with 50, 60 cars, and we're not talking shit cars. We're talking about all the top of the range special editions.
So you know Jay Leno?
Yeah.
So he has.
I haven't actually seen it, but I've seen that advert for
Jay Leno's garage. Yeah. So he's got an aircraft hangar.
Yeah.
Full of vintage cars.
Mm-hmm.
He has 11 warehouses.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's almost unfathomable how much money is in all those warehouses. But what you're saying about warehouses is interesting. So Elon Musk was on Rogan last week, and he brought the Cybertruck, and Musk was like, "Oh,
into the studio."
Yeah, not into the studio, but into Rogan's complex.
Yeah.
And Musk was like, "Oh, everything about it is bulletproof except for the glass, because we can make it bulletproof, but then it can't come up and down. So you just got to choose what you want." And Joe was like, "Wow, really?" So Musk was like, "Yeah, we tried a 38, a 42, a 50, a 60 against it." And Rogan was,
caliber bullets?
Yeah, and he said nothing. And Rogan was like, "What about a bow and arrow?" Musk was like, "I don't know, we didn't try that." And Joe's like, "I've got a bow here." So they were like, "Okay." So it then switches to Jamie Vernon's camera phone, just filming them, just Joe with his bow shooting at the truck. So that's not the important bit. The important bit is seeing the space, because you've got the Cybertruck and this fucking enormous warehouse. There's nothing else in it but the Cybertruck. And that's part of Rogan's complex. Because I had no idea. I knew what his gym looked like. His gym was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I had no idea the sheer size of everything else. This thing is... That's just one warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Or just one room, and it's the size of a warehouse. So you're just this thing must be ridiculous about how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
The Joe Rogan fucking complex.
Well, I think it's it's definitely a male aspect or thought. It's we love tools, we love cars, we love a big warehouse with all the industrial look and all the beams and all the...
It's just cool to say, "Oh, my warehouse." You're just
Be so cool.
Yeah, it's very
cool. And
cool.
have a random office in there and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'd want you ever see The Gentleman?
Yeah.
You know how the garage they have there and the office overlooking it?
Yeah.
That's
exactly
a banging
like that.
setup.
Perfect,
That's a banging setup.
Perfect.
Yeah, I love that.
And then the 10 million left over would invest into cash flow and assets.
Interesting.
Because I'd like to not be able to work. That's why I would like... It's not the best return on investment, especially these days, but as long as inflation keeps going the way it is, the appreciation of properties will mitigate that. But if you could put 10 million into property and hand it over to a property management company, because you would have 10 million's worth of property, the property management company are going to be fucking all over it because they wouldn't want to lose that account. Meaning, for the sake of 6% of the revenue per month, whatever, you really won't have to do anything. And that's what I'd like to be able to do, is not do anything. And I guarantee I'll get to that point and I'll be bored as shit. 100%. But I want to get to that. I want to get to that position so I can be bored as shit. So then I can work out what the next thing to do is.
Oh yeah, your brain will start working again. Yeah.
I'd like to travel the world. I want to be one of these people that goes to every country and give it a go, just to experience it for myself. But again, I think with everything, too much pleasure will just get boring after a while.
It's very interesting you're saying about being bored creating the next idea. So whenever I'm working on my business, I always have like a podcast or something going on in the background, because then it's something I'm listening to while I'm physically doing something. Which is great because it's either entertaining or it's educational or whatever. So I'm still expanding my mind as I'm going along. But I was driving to one of my clients earlier, and I was like, I put some music on, and I was just like, I've actually got like a bit of a headache. I turned it off, and I was just like, that's so much nicer. Now, whether it was because I had a complete silence and I needed a break from the stimulation, it wasn't just the auditory stimulation. I needed a break from the mental stimulation as well.
I know exactly what you mean.
And I was like, oh, that's nice to just, and like the pressure kind of went away over a bit. And then I just started having these ideas, and I was like, oh shit. Like the idea I spoke to you about before we started for this, that came to me as I was driving here. Because again, I turned everything off, and I was just like, oh shit, I can get that. And I know how I do it. But I needed to be bored to then come up with the idea.
Yeah, of course. And I find driving is the best way to do that. It's great to have time to drive and listen to a podcast and stuff like that. But you're thinking more about the podcast and what they're saying, etc., etc. But when you turn it off, you're just left there with yourself and your own mind. And then for the first couple of minutes, nothing happens. And then you start thinking about all sorts, which is great, depending on what you need.
Yeah.
What's it? I guess is it the medulla oblongata? Fires up?
Don't know.
That's like the part of the brain that is like the creative spark.
No, I think that's the medulla is the aggressive part. Well, why are we doing this?
Let's get some receipts.
Ugh. What does the medulla oblongata do versus the hypothalamus?
But I think that, as I said, you'd end up trying to find something else, and there's this fantasy. Call it fantasy. I'd like to bring it into reality, so more like a dream, or even better than a dream, a goal. The more and more I've been looking at them, I'd love a yacht. Big old. Are you gonna
live on it?
Well, I could do, and then when I get bored, come back on land.
Okay, so the only way to make that, again, how are you going to make it an asset, not a liability?
Yeah, I'd have to rent it out.
Okay, good. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, because there's TV shows. I'll see if I can find it actually.
But the ones I'm looking at, they are quite expensive. They're like Explorer yachts, so they are naughty.
There is so there's a TV show called Below Deck.
Yes, I haven't seen it, but my missus was talking about it.
Yeah, so with this, it follows the crew of like of people who work on super yachts for the crazy rich, and what it effectively works out to being is people who get paid to live on a luxury super yacht for like 40 weeks of the year, and the rest of that time is when the owners are using the boat. Other than that, the people who work there use the boat, so it's their boat effectively. So it's just such a stupid expense. So unless you, as you're saying, if you're planning to rent it out for X amount of time of the year, then the rest of it is yours. Then fair play to you, go for it. Because then, as you say, you're making money out of it that way, and it's not just a big, stupid hole in your pocket.
Unnecessary expense.
Yeah.
But this is the one that I was looking at. Now, when I showed my missus, she wasn't interested because she's like, well, it doesn't really look that good. Like blah blah. She wants one of the really nice looking ones, but can't really do fuck all on one of those. Look, this is the bad boy.
How does that not look good? It looks like you could invade Poland with that.
We're looking at they're called Damen yachts, Damen yachts, and this is the Sea Explorer. They are absolutely insane. You've got a little area in here which you can either have glazed or unglazed. Nice. So it's effectively like a balcony area, or you can have it glazed, and there's like sunroof active there. Yeah. You've got obviously all the control room and stuff like that there. 360 view control room, so it's naughty.
Nice.
And then you've got a few decks here. You got your little boat there. You got your helipad on the back. Ooh. Mate, you got a little viewing room there. Honestly, but I mean
that is a naughty bit of kit.
They're fairly pricey, if I do say so.
Interested in our yachts?
Let's have a look. I don't know if they've got any pricing on here.
No, probably not.
However,
You can just Google it.
I think it was about 64 million.
That's so unnecessary.
Exactly. It's brilliant. There's too many people in this world that hate this type of shit, and you're like, well, come on, we've got to push the boat out here.
Terrible pun. Terrible pun.
Oh, I didn't actually mean that, but yeah.
Okay, here's my question.
Go on.
With purchasing boats like this, do you buy them the same way you buy a house?
What, go to a really irritating estate agent?
Yeah.
Try and buy something?
Yeah, but it's called a boat agent.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably called a yacht agent.
Yeah, so if it's 64 million...
Or a broker, probably a yacht
broker, yeah. So if it's 64 million, you physically have to put down 6.4 million, and then you just pay it back over time.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Like unless it is one of those things that only the stupidly rich can have it, so therefore they have to pay up front.
No, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Well, they might do.
Do you know for... I really want to answer that.
Forgive me. Sorry, babe.
Do you know? Do you know for Jeff Bezos' yacht, he had it made in the Netherlands.
That's where most of them are made. This is where these are made.
So he had it made in the Netherlands, and then they have to bring it out to the sea.
Yeah.
But his was so big, they had to demolish a bridge.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
To then get it through, and then they rebuilt the bridge.
Oh, you'd be pissed, wouldn't you? Right, let's have a look. So the one. The Sea Explorer 55, which is the small one, is not the one you want, shall we?
Yeah. You're going to do it, go big or go home.
Too short.
Yeah.
Which is 55 metres, so it's not really that big.
No.
It's 49 million euros.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, you get that.
Yeah, there you go.
The 60, which is still peasantry, really, is 70 million euros. So I think I need to earn a bit more money.
Only a little bit.
Basically.
Okay, so the reason I asked that question is because if that's the fixed amount you're looking at to never work again, to have your financial freedom, I guess it's the case of... Yeah, because cash flow... I'm only asking now because is there an argument now that because you have no dependents, though you do or will have a mortgage to be paying, if you're doing it from the level of cash flow, would you say that you had your financial freedom now? Is my question.
Well, it depends how you see it. Not really with the lifestyle I want to live. The cash flow that you require is all based on the lifestyle you want to live.
Right.
And for me, the security from the cash flow I have at the moment, it's not really secure.
Right.
Because, if the market tanks or, your tenants move out or this goes wrong with that or one of your employees leaves or something like that, puts you under a lot of stress, which could seriously affect one of those business incomes.
So the value, would it be right to say the value is there, but it's just the security it's not?
If I were 60, 70, yes. But because I'm still young and I've got easily another 40 or the way science is going, 100 years to live. 70 to 100 years to live.
Yeah.
Nothing even close.
Cool. Okay.
Not even slightly.
Yeah, just curious.
Because, there's so many different things that are going to crop up. When you have kids, fuck me, they're a drain. They cost a lot of money. And you want to look after them, don't you? You want to make sure they've got the best life whilst being tough and strict on them. You also want to make sure they're not going to come into any danger. And it has a lot to do with, where you live, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, it's interesting thing about kids. There's that phrase that they should want for nothing, which I think is wrong. I think they should want for a lot.
Yeah.
I think they should need for nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. You should have all your needs looked after, 100%.
Yeah. But you should want for a lot. Good
education.
Yeah.
And that's basically all you should provide, and show them a good work ethic. The rest of it, if you do all those 4 things, then they need to learn the rest of it off the back of hard graft and actually just getting into the real world.
Well, that's why I think my folks did very well in that respect, because when I was younger, I hated this part of them, but they would never spend a lot of money on us, just in general, for on things. So when people were getting phones, we never got phones.
Mm-hmm.
Like Christmas, we never get high price stuff. We never get laptops. We never get phones. We never get this or that or anything. But that's because, exactly as you said, they spent money on other things. They spent money on education. They spent money on sports, on music lessons, on whatever, as opposed to, oh, here's a phone, 700 quid or whatever, and then see you later. That's it. As opposed to, oh, this is 700 quid spent over, I don't know, half a year.
Yeah. And I think that was a blessing from, how my upbringing is. My father's new money, so he's made it all himself type thing. So, from the ages of 5 to 10, didn't really have any money. And then all of a sudden, because over those 15 years of him building, he's reinvested everything. All of a sudden, it gets to a point where you don't really need to invest anymore. So it's like, oh shit, let's start enjoying and spending it. And then sort of like, it's like the overnight success. Do you know what I mean? How they say it, took 20 years to become an overnight success, and then once you get to that level, it's like, oh wow, that's all still there, all still earning money, all still generating income, but now we got the freedom to do this and go on this holiday and do those types of things. And I never really saw my parents till I was a lot older spend any money on cars or jewellery or any things like that.
Mm-hmm.
When we were younger, we were still going like caravan holidays and camping holidays and stuff like that. So I think we're quite lucky to have had that. Whereas, you see a lot of the sort of old money people, not everybody, a lot of them are brought up, from the people I went to school with, like 90% of them are all good human beings because they've come from a good family, a good background, and looked after them. But you get the 10%
ruin it.
The spoiled brats that sort of ruin it for everybody else, the silver spooners as they call them, that they don't really appreciate what their family have probably had to go through to get them to that position, and they just take everything for granted. And that's why it's difficult to know what to do, because obviously I'm not even in that position. But I think the best thing to do is keep them grounded in reality as much as possible. And as you said, a good way to do that is not by pampering them and buying them all lavish gifts and stuff like that, the things that they don't need or really even would appreciate. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you're a kid, you don't really need much as long as you've got a roof over your head, as we said, food and all those things. A couple of toys, and what do you really need? So you can learn to buy it and pay for it yourself. That's what I was always taught. I had bikes and push bikes and all those types of things, like nothing extremely lavish, but then it was sort of like, right, if you want it, you've got to go and get it yourself.
When you're a kid, I think it's the same sort of thing about how when you're a child, you are a glutton for sweets, because it's all about that sugar. Like if you're getting that in there, if you're a young, young human 2,000 years ago, if you have access to that much sugar, you're like, oh my god, I've got to take all this fruit in now. This is going to go away forever. That's why the kids have a very sweet tooth when they're younger, and it must apply to everything. You must be there like, I need everything, because it could all go. Historically, it's like that was beneficial to have that, because then you would hoard things and keep it and take it, and you would grow and develop stuff from there. Problem is now is that because food, if we're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food is almost a given.
Yeah.
Like people die from obesity in this country more than they die of starvation.
Yeah.
That hardwiring, biological hardwiring is still in there, but it's now added to things. It's because you can't apply it to food. I mean, you can, but if your folks are like, your folks are quite strict in regards to food,
are all provided for, aren't they?
Yeah, so people will obviously still have that. That's why you get childhood obesity. But most parents are pretty good about keeping a lid on that. So then it goes to other stuff, which then parents struggle with. I can't really deny them, things, because then you'd be like, oh, well, then that means they're, behind their peers or whatever.
Yeah. And that's a really difficult one, isn't it?
It's very hard.
I think it's a little bit different in our generation to the previous generation. Is most of our parents' generation grew up with not a lot. Do you know what I mean? And that's, I think, why a lot of our parents' generation, the boomers, worked so hard to build the world that we live in now, is because they had fuck all.
Yep.
Whereas that's why I see a lot of people taking it for granted in our day and age, because they've had it all. So like, oh, fuck it, doesn't. I don't need it because I've already got it. I don't need to work for it. It's just already there. So I just take it for granted. And was speaking to Will, who's been on the podcast before the other day, and it was like, if one day the shop's just closed, you couldn't get any food. Day one, everybody would be
Pandemonium.
It'd be fucking riots, pandemonium. Do you know what I mean? People would not know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
And to me, that's another reason. I don't think I should need it, and I hope I never do. But that's another reason why I want some land, because it'd be nice to have a little patch of land that you can grow food on,
Yeah.
and all that type of stuff. And when the world does go absolutely mental, you've got your own little patch of land away from all the towny nutters.
Well, mate, and I will 100% support you in buying your patch of land, and I will buy it along with you, because then, again, referring back to the gentleman, he just has a container in the middle of a field nowhere.
Yeah, and nobody
Empty
knows.
container. Push the table aside, you go down. It's a full-on fucking underground bunker complex.
Yeah.
That's the way. That's what you got to have.
That would be so cool.
I would love that so
You
much.
wouldn't even need weed in it. Like, you just
No.
have like a lad's pad or whatever. Like,
I mean,
or even a house.
to be
That'd be
fair,
sick.
the fact that he has so much weed in there, everyone down like working on there is probably super healthy because they get all that oxygen.
Yeah, all the pumped
Yeah.
generated oxygen.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, it just even if it's not weed, I mean, it'd be a good idea to grow some weed because it'd be nice to chill out. But then just loads of plants in general,
Yeah.
just hydroponics.
Hydroponics. That's
Yeah.
it, yeah. But I think one of the main things, I sort of learnt when I was growing up is from a young age, I was always told, if you want something, you got to work for it. I used to do odd jobs here and there. My old man used to sell beer down at the Reading Festival,
Nice.
and I would move the crates of beer for him. Like, first when I was 10 years old, that's when I first started doing it. Then every year till I was 15, 16. And that was like some of the best times I ever had when I was a kid, just working alongside the old man, grafting along, sort of in amongst it with all the other people that are working. And he taught me from a young age just to save your money and then put into something that's worth it. To a point where I think I was 14 or 15 and I bought a motorbike. I was quite lucky. The school I went to, one of my friends had quite a bit of land, and like everyone just got motorbikes, and then just driving all around the his land and stuff like that, which was great fun. And it was it was only due to the fact that he sort of forced me to earn the money. Not forced, he sort of advised me to do it, and I did it, and it paid off. And then it gives you that motivation to say, look, if I work for it, you can get it and you can move forward. And the longer you take to make the decision to earn money, the compounded interest factor fucks you up and makes that money less value. Because if you've got, I didn't have this, it's just pulling around and figure out my ass, but if you had 100 grand by 16, well, it's worth a fuck lot more than 100 grand at 50.
Yeah.
Because when you're 16, most of the time you're still living with your parents. You don't really have that many expenses in life. You can proper utilise and invest that money into things. Obviously, it's very unlikely it's a 16-year-old you're going to. But if you've got a good role model who's advising you to do things like that, you're going to massively excel. And I think that's the only thing I can sort of advise. I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take my word for it. But from my experience, I think that was one of the greatest things when I was younger. It's just working young, saving your money, create a budget when you're young as well. Don't spunk it on everything. I had friends that get their first job at 18 or whatever like that, and you think, fucking, I've been working for 8 years, like what you've been doing. And then they spunk all their money on drink, alcohol, blah, blah, blah. Don't get me wrong, I spunked a lot of money on.
We've all been there.
On cigarettes, drink, and all that type of stuff. But I always made sure it was part of the budget.
Yeah.
And I had money set aside and left over because, again, when you're young and you don't have any expenses, you don't really need anything. So, you can go out and spend £100 on booze, or you can go out and spend £20 on booze and have £80 left over. The relative fun is not going to be too dissimilar from £20 worth of booze to £100.
And we all know with alcohol, there is a very swift point of diminishing returns.
Yeah, 100%.
It's roughly about halfway through drink 2.
Basically,
Yeah.
And then you carry on and you think, let's have some more.
Yeah. But once you get past
minutes
it, you get past the tipping point.
Yeah. And you wake up, you're hungover. I said it, I think we've had this conversation before, is, you can enjoy having a couple of beers, but I'm, again, one of those people, I don't know what anybody else is like. After like 2 or 3 beers, it's like the Brit inside me comes out and it's like, right, let's just continue to drink until we can't drink anymore.
Yeah, we had this in September when it was you, me, and Max.
Yeah.
Because
We only went out for a couple.
Only a few drinks, and then you were there like,
yeah, let's get another
like
one.
the feral eyes came
Yeah,
out, and I was like, oh no.
And you can't help it. And then you wake up in the morning, you realise it's a Wednesday.
It was.
Yeah. You've fucking got a sore head. You've invested £100 or £50 or whatever it is to make yourself feel like shit, and you've invested that money to ruin the next 3 or 4 days of your life.
And you know, we were out for 4 or 5 hours. The first 3 were glorious, and then it was shit. Like, it wasn't shit, but you're just like, didn't need that. Didn't need that. Like, it was still good, but it's like, we didn't need that. We didn't need the last half of that.
No, but you still keep going down.
Yeah, and it was good. But again, did we need that food? Probably not.
I think
did it feel good at the time? The food was great.
And I'm glad for, believe it or not, Rob being the voice of reason.
Tell me about it. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, oh my God.
Good lad. I think without him, we probably would have ended up.
Oh, yeah, would have stayed, yeah. Yeah, he when he said that, he sobered me up straight away. I was like, Jesus Christ. Okay, let's go.
But the main point I was making on that is, you know, when not only are you wasting that money completely, you're not just wasting that money that you've earned.
Yeah.
You're wasting the next 4 days earning potential of your life, which is pushing you back even further. Mm-hmm. You're not what they call the weekend warriors or weekend millionaires, or is that what they call them? Mm. They go out and spend all their money at the weekend on drink and alcohol, or drugs and alcohol. Sorry.
Oh, they live the high life for those 2 days, then that's it. Yeah.
And then they're absolutely fucked from Monday to Friday. Yeah. They do as little as possible. They barely generate any, meaningful increases in their income. They ruin their network because they're hungover and grumpy and cock all the time. And then it comes to the weekend again. They're like, yeah, let's do it all again. And it's just like a vicious cycle that I'm not going to say I was ever not in it, because there was times where, especially when you're younger and you can drink and you don't get hungover, or you don't notice the effect that it's having on you as you do it. But especially the older you get, the quicker the side effects come in, which is a positive and a negative at the same time.
Well, I was going to say, I was very fortunate. Me and my lot, we started drinking when we were like 14.
Yeah, I think that's a British establishment, isn't it? Heavily as well.
Well, yeah, it was. Well, I mean, we started. My first thing that ever got me tipsy was a 2-litre bottle of Strongbow. Yeah, which was utter filth. Then after that, it was Glen's vodka.
Glen's, yeah.
Lovely.
Do they even sell Glen's anymore?
Mate, I saw a 2-litre bottle of that earlier today. Jesus I was like, wow, it's good branding.
It's like paint strip and that shit.
It's good branding though. They have it right next to the Smirnoff. I'm like, it's the same branding. I was like, well done.
It's not.
It is not. It is absolute shite.
But for any people out there, obviously above the age of 18, buy the Smirnoff. Don't buy the fucking Glens. Go and whip around an extra couple of quid and buy the fucking Smirnoff. It's worth it.
Never ever buy Absolute either.
No, what's wrong with Absolute?
It's like paint stripper. It's fucking horrible.
Really
it's horrible. They do all these. It looks amazing. The bottle's beautiful because it's like an old style fucking apothecary bottle. And they do all different smells. So it smells fantastic. Tastes horrible. It's like Sainsbury's vodka. That's what it tastes like. It's horrible.
Nothing against Sainsbury's.
No, I'll say something. When we were younger, when we started drinking, so I went Strongbow to vodka because we were drinking just to get fucked up.
Yeah, of course.
But then you're like, okay, let's
drink
actually
whatever you can get your hands on.
Yeah, don't you? Exactly. That's the main thing, because we all know we all knew the local dodgy shop who would sell us booze.
Yeah, or the tramp in Reading. You say, look, I'll buy you.
Oh yeah, or the older, someone's older brother.
$1.50, and you just go and get me all this booze. They'd fucking love it.
Yeah, someone's older brother go, here's whatever.
And then they take you around the back and finger you for
exactly. Well, that was just you, mate.
Yeah. Oh, is that just me? I thought it was
just
everyone.
You. No, just you. So
I didn't have to pay for it.
I was very distracted. What are you saying?
You're thinking about me.
I've got a finger in my finger now. Yeah. But no, we started okay, let's actually. No, let's drink some beer. Like, oh, San Miguel, that's actually quite a nice beer. Let's have some more of that. Oh, and then Peroni and so on. You stop being an animal. For getting the benefits from it, up to a certain age, it didn't take a lot, and I was still enjoying it. I wasn't getting all the side effects. The booze wasn't that bad. It wasn't so much going on from there. When I started drinking like heavily, it was costing me more now, because I haven't spent my money to get drugs. My tolerance had gone up. but B, my body's punishment kicked in like really bad. Like for me, it was it ruined my stomach because it was just trying to process all of that crap. And my body was like, we've done this for the last 6 years. Nope, you're out. So I got the real bad hangovers at 21, which again was really fortunate for me because I think we just went so hard. Because I remember I was at a point where I could have 3/4 of a bottle of Smirnoff, stone cold sober.
Yeah.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I was like, this is not right. I should be feeling something. I was like, nope, nothing at all. And I was like, great. I spent 30 quid and nothing to show for it. Brilliant. So at that point, I started dialing it right back. So it's where I am now, where, if I have a couple of pints, I am fucked. Because I'm such a lightweight, but I'm still going to get absolutely butchered the next day. Because my body's like, well, now you've got to pay for it. Yeah. But the plus side is that I don't spend as much because my body's not used to being butchered. Whereas like people who go out every weekend and just get absolutely shit-faced, the pain they feel is just the normal for them.
Don't get me wrong, I do it every now and again.
Yeah.
It's got to be done.
It's got to be done.
But then you got to do that to, reiterate why you shouldn't be doing it.
Yes.
Because you forget, don't you? You get, especially when you're, 5 or 6 beers in, you're like, it's not going to be that bad, like blah, blah, blah.
Well, I've...
enjoy yourself, crack on, and then you're 12, 15 beers deep.
Yeah. Well, fortunately for me, I've developed, since my mate's wedding, I've developed a taste for whiskey.
Nice.
So again, it's just like a little snifter, and you just sip it. Which is brilliant. So it's the sheer volume has just dropped by like 90%. And the pace has slowed way down as well. So there's way lower calories. There's fuck all going on there. And it's just these little things from here. And because of that, I can't drink as much of it. And it's actually kind of nice.
Also fucks your exercise up as well. Massively.
Yeah.
That's what I've found since I've been working out a lot more, is when you do drink, it's like you can do way less in the gym.
Yeah, well, the energy's just not there because your body's busy trying to fucking fix you.
Yeah, true. It's a fucking pain in the ass.
Before we wrap up, I want to speak about the third and final topic. When we had Jess on a few months ago, you and I were talking about how women have intrinsic value because they have the ability to bring life, and men, all we do is 30 seconds of work and then that's our bit done.
30 seconds.
Fine, 27.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And then so beyond that, we have to build ourselves up to create our value for ourselves. Yeah. And she was very skeptical at the time because she was like, oh, that's not really fair to men. Unique snowflake, blah, blah, blah. But then she called me the other day and she was like, oh, I actually heard this exact same point said a slightly different way in a different podcast. And she's like, that's actually changed how I think about it. And I was like, that's really interesting because there was two things here. One, I think it's a point of sometimes lessons is the wrong word. Sometimes information doesn't sink in until it's reiterated a couple of times. So I think with her, if she hears it once from here, she's like, whatever. And then she hears it again, she's like, maybe there is something here. But to the point that she was saying is that the podcast she heard was the where you have the Freudian concept of penis envy that women have. They were saying, is this in a similar way? Men have the envy that they can't physically give birth. And I was like, that is very interesting because I never would have thought of that.
I never thought about that before. Now, if I could sort of expand on that point, I've never really thought about it like that.
I haven't either.
I never thought I would rather do that because, it doesn't look like much fun.
I don't think rather, I just think there's something to it, whereas you and I can never fully understand what it is like to hold another human that's literally made from me.
Yeah, just come out.
Like, we can, on the molecular level, because this is our DNA. Like, it is our DNA, but it's not our flesh, No, exactly. Like, it's a little version of me, because from some sort of fucking sorcery, we've mixed together and created another person. But it's not our physical flesh, whereas it is their physical body in another body.
Yeah, of course. And
so
they've been growing it. Like.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the level of connection, you and I will never know what that is like.
And when you think about it in the sort of cold light of day, and this was my sort of point when I came across it. I wish it wasn't the case. Remove all emotion from the situation. But we briefly discussed it before. Is I try and think of everything in life. If I want to get to the level I want to, that you've got to think of everything that comes in and out of your life as an asset and a liability. A bit like Robert Kiyosaki, as you said, is if you're an asset, you're going to stay in my life. I'm going to build and grow with that. And if you're a liability, I'm going to do whatever I can as soon as possible to get rid of you, because you're no benefit to me. You're costing me money rather than putting money in my pocket. Now, women, again, remove all emotion from this, if you can, in your heart.
And your head.
They've got the intrinsic value within them that even if they don't have a successful career or do whatever they want to do in this world, they've got the beautiful ability to create and bring life into this world. Men, we obviously play our part in that as well. It obviously takes two of us to make a baby. I'm pretty sure, doesn't it? That's what they used to say. Where does the stork come in? Do they?
Oh, the stork is sat on top of the bed watching you.
Watching. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is he wanking?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a fleshlight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But my point in there is after that, men, if you are the females tend to be the one that obviously grow the baby and then nurture and look after them. We've got to play the opposite role of protecting and providing for them. And if you don't protect or provide, i.e. physically, spiritually, emotionally and economically, you're not needed. You're not required in that scenario. Therefore, you're a liability. So if you're not an asset to the situation, you're a liability. There's no in between. You might be a slightly grey area sometimes where you're part of you might not be so good emotionally, but you're good economically or whatever like that. But if you are none of those things, you are a complete liability and you are not needed in that scenario. Therefore, you are useless as a male or whatever you decide to identify as. So or for the male aspect, we need to build ourselves up physically and economically mainly and emotionally in order to create value for ourselves and therefore be required as part of the family dynamic. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, mate.
Otherwise, it's like you are just a waste of space.
Well, this is what
without the emotion, you are physically
what are you doing? Yeah,
this my brother likes to say, is an oxygen thief.
Yeah.
That's my point.
There's your point.
That's
good.
Rant over.
No, that's good. But no, I completely agree. This is the point this is the message that is missing from common discourse. Whereas it's very hedonistic, where it's talking about
hedonism. Remind me of the
pleasure.
Yes, yeah.
So it's pleasure oriented, being how it's brilliant. You should know, women have the so obviously again since the invention of the pill, which again is a brilliant thing. Don't want to take away from all the good things that it has done. However, objectively, it's giving men a license alongside with women, giving women a license to have sex,
to abuse sexuality.
Women have a license to have sex and not get pregnant. Obviously, brilliant. Never take that away from anyone. Absolutely, people should want to do that. But it's also giving men a license to be like, great, I don't have to commit fuck all because
I don't have to take responsibility.
Because there's no consequences. If I have sex with someone and get her pregnant, you'd be like, oh shit, okay, there's actual consequence now. I've actually got to do something. So because either if you're a decent person, you'd be like, oh shit, I've either ruined this woman's life, or if you're an asshole, they're like, oh shit, their family's gonna come kill me if I don't look after this kid.
Yeah. Well, how am I gonna get out of this?
Yeah. Whereas now, because of the refractory period for men, so how quickly they reload effectively, a guy could fuck multiple women in the same day, and if you roll the dice of statistics, he could get all of them pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So he could create 10 babies in one day, and you could have nothing to do with them ever again. Absolutely nothing, because that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. And that should never be something that is. It shouldn't be something that is ignored or overlooked. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it wasn't something that was intentional when the pill was created or when it was put out there. But I think this is just an unintended side effect of this now. Like, okay, if women don't have, women will more often than not take responsibility for contraception because they're like, oh, I don't. If I don't, and there's a version of the male pill, I'm not going to trust him to have done the pill, because if he has taken the pill, great. But if he hasn't, and I believe him, then he gets me pregnant, I bear the risk either way.
Yeah.
So they're more likely to go, cool, I'm not going to take any risk, and I'm going to take a pill or the coil or whatever the hell it is. Obviously condoms as well, but
Well, they.
But they're more likely to take that on them from then, so the contraception on from them, because obviously they bear the risk. So then men are going to be like, cool, it's dealt with. They're dealing with it because they've got consequences. It's their risk from there. So now the risk has taken off men completely, and the responsibility is taken off men completely. So now if they get pregnant, the guy's going to be like, well, it's your fault, love.
Yes.
Because why were you, if you're on the pill,
Yeah.
nothing to do with me, because the choice is taken out of my hands.
And also with the sexual promiscuity of, well, I'm not saying loads of women, but a lot of women out there. I've had it with friends and stuff like that before that turn around and be like, well, you probably fucked 5 other blokes since me, so imagine it's mine.
Yeah.
And that bears another problem, is if you know you've only been with one person, guaranteed it's their baby. But if you're with multiple different people, how are you going to decide, work out who it is until the baby's born? And basically, are you really going to go to all 5 of them or none of them, or
what do you do?
Decide which one you choose? Either way, it's a slippery slope.
We're obviously speaking in generalised terms here, and there is a nuance in every individual case. But overall, generally, this is what we want to be talking about from there. Obviously, if it's an individual case, then it varies depending on what it is. But
it's always in general.
Yeah, which is the only really way to speak about stuff. Otherwise, you just don't speak about it.
Unless we're getting too personal, which we would never do.
And we call Max a slag. Next week, we figure out why Max has 17 bastard children. Tune in then.
I think we can work out why.
Okay, we'll work out why. Well, thank you everyone for listening to episode 28. We are cracking up and creeping up on the hurty there, mate.
We're nearly there.
It's going to be nearly as old as you.
Exactly.
Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Take care, guys.